Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's an extremely busy day. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak with NBC News. Congratulations on the anniversary, 75 years since independence, a very busy week for you. So I'll get right to it, however. You are fresh off a meeting with Governor Ron DeSantis. What did you talk about?
Talked about Iran, talked about Israel-U.S. relations. He's a friend of Israel, and Israel has been blessed to have great friends on both sides of the aisle.
What do you make of him on the international stage? Is he someone you could work with if he were to run for president?
Well, we didn't talk about American politics. I have enough politics here, so I've avoided stepping into that field.
It is well known that you're a staunch ally of former President Trump. He has been on the attack against Governor DeSantis. Would you have a preference between, say, President DeSantis or President Trump?
President Trump has been a great friend of the State of Israel as well, and he did great things for the State of Israel, like recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, moving the embassy here, recognizing our sovereignty in the Golan Heights, walking out of the disastrous Iran deal. I appreciate all of that. And he's a great friend. And the other people, including Governor DeSantis, are great friends of Israel. And it's wonderful to have these good friends.
Another issue I want to touch on is the proposed judicial reforms that certainly have sparked so much controversy here in Israel, as you well know, over the past several weeks and months. There have been numerous protests here. President Biden, as you no doubt know, has said that you should walk away from these proposed judicial reforms. What was your reaction when you heard that from President Biden?
Well, look, it's an internal matter. President Biden has been a great friend of Israel, a personal friend of mine for 40 years, and we can have our agreements and disagreements in the family, as we say. But on this internal matter, I thought that the right thing to do, because this is a subject of heated debate. By the way, there are massive demonstrations on both sides of the aisle, massive, including one tonight, for those who support the judicial reform. I thought when you have something as dramatic as this, that you have to try in a democracy to get to a consensus, as broad a consensus as possible. So I actually gave it time, I'm giving it time to see if we can have a consensus, as broad an agreement as we can. And in fact, as we speak now, there are teams from my coalition and from the opposition in the President's house trying to work out this consensus. It'll be a great thing for Israel, because I think Israeli democracy will actually be strengthened as a result.
Has any progress been made on that potential compromise?
We're working on it, and I hope to achieve it. I'm certainly going to give it all the chance that I can.
Why not, or why allow the Parliament to have so much power over judicial decisions?
Well, I think it's the other way around. I mean, the reason people want this judicial reform is because in the last 20 years in particular, the judicial branch has received probably more power over the Parliament and the executive than in any other country on the planet. And so people say you have to bring it back. But I agree with one thing, and I've said that right from the start. The fact that we have an excessive power in the judiciary doesn't mean that we now have to have excessive power in the Parliament, in the Knesset. So I think there's a happy middle somewhere in there, and we're working on it. I don't want to move from one extreme to the other. I want a balance between the three branches of government, and that's where we're really what we're aiming to achieve.
Still, you have to be aware of the condemnation from some parts of the world that have come because of these protests. And even, some Israelis that I've spoken with say that they haven't seen this level of protest in quite some time here. Is Israel in crisis?
Well, I think it's in a big debate, but I think that what you see is what you see in other countries, what you just saw now in France. Is France going to disappear as a democracy? No. You saw these demonstrations, actually violent demonstrations, which we haven't had here. You have these same debates in the United States. You have demonstrations there too. I don't think the American democracy is in jeopardy. I don't think French democracy is in jeopardy, and I know that Israeli democracy is strong enough to overcome it. But the fact that you have these massive peaceful demonstrations, and I stress peaceful demonstrations, in Israel from both sides of the aisle, is actually not a sign of a deteriorating democracy. It's a sign of a robust democracy.
Moving on to another topic, because I know our time is so limited, certainly this issue of the classified documents that were leaked in the U.S., some of those documents involving intelligence that was received from the Israelis. How much damage does that do to your trust for the U.S. intelligence community's ability to keep state secrets?
Well, not at all. I'll tell you why. Because I have a much higher respect for the CIA than than that so-called leaked document. All it was referring to was a decision that was public by the legal advisor of the Mossad, who said, correctly by the way, that lower echelon people in the Mossad can participate in demonstrations for or against the judicial reform. Big deal. That's not a state secret. That's in the press. Everybody knew it. Look, I don't fear our intelligence sharing with the U.S. I have to tell you, it's at an all-time level, both in intel, cyber, many other areas that have saved countless American and Israeli lives and the lives of citizens of many nations. So if you're worried about one country, about countries not sharing intelligence with the U.S., scratch Israel off that list. We have the best intelligence cooperation in our history.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.